So today's Wisdom Wednesdays, which I don't know if I'm going to post this on Valentine's Day because maybe I want clicks or something for this channel. Um, but I wanted to, because I've been looking inward a lot and I've been thinking about a lot of stuff. And I was having a talk with my mom the other day, or we're having a discussion about where she was doing what parents usually do, which is I have a successful child and I have a child that's a failure. Why can't the failure child be like the successful child? What is the difference? What was the differing of outcomes? And me trying to tell her that the difference in outcomes was that your successful child was able to probably go through her range of emotions. Also, it being a her, the successful child is also a female, which, while women have considerable hurdles that they have to constantly jump through, even when they've made success, look at Rihanna. Um, they they know they have to be up against this unsurmountable task. Some usually fall by the wayside and would rather just get married or live a tumultuous life, and some grab the call by the horn and lead the charge in any way that they can and put their nose to the grindstone as long as they need to until they're successful. And while there's men out here that do that, um, and I'm not gonna speak for all men because I'm only speaking for myself, but in my own opinion, I feel like as a guy, as a man, I feel like I have to have something that I've earned, that is necessary, that needed me specifically to be at the helm of it for me to actually strive for something. And when she was comparing me to all of the successes, again, all of them being girls, I don't know if she was missing a point or not grasping something. And even when I said it out loud, I don't. She made a face and I made a face back because I'm like, yeah, like. And then her defense to me was like, oh, you're gonna blame everybody else. And then I'm like, my defense to her was like, but you're blaming me for this. When I was at a point in my life when I wasn't smart enough to be able to even do anything. And and I think I've been dropping these little gems on my mom, and I think that's the reason why she's been kind of like more or acquiescing to helping me a lot more frequently now, because I'm actually able to talk to her like I used to be able to talk to her a long, long time ago. And that I think that she thought that the communication broke down because we just didn't get along and I was going through adolescence, and I was trying to get her to understand that no, the communication broke down because I couldn't even communicate correctly without it being stamped out. Um, I can't I can't begin to blame everyone around me because yes, there is a point in my childhood which I would say would be probably around the time when I was old enough to think about not wanting to cry anymore in front of anybody, which was like seventh grade. I made a conscious decision to become stone-hearted and not to reveal any of my emotions, because if I did that in school, I was laughed at. If I did that at home, I was told it was invalid or I was screamed at. So it was like I decided to become a brick wall that was impenetrable, and where my parents would just get pissed off at me more and more because I wasn't giving them any rile up that they can easily latch on to. And I feel like in school I was just weird because either I was being a class clown when the time was suitable, because really I would try to find any time, but most of the time I don't know what I was doing. But two things popped into my head, and it was based off of the fact that I watched a video by FD Signifier about black love. And the thing, and I think there was a point in the video where one of the couples they interviewed, the guy and his wife, or they have a successful business and they're steadily growing the business. And in his mind, he was so adamant about growing this business because he wanted this thing to be a world a world denomination of how much he loves his wife, which this would again go into the same thing with like Will Smith and Jada, how Will would do a whole bunch of outlandish things to show how much he loves his wife, but it was really um, in the couple's case, the wife came to the conclusion that he wanted her to be proud of him, or proud that she found him, or proud that she's the one that loves him, or I don't know what facet of proud that needs to be. Um, but and in Will's case, Will and Jada's case, he was trying to show that he can be that provider, and he can be lavish and give her everything that she would ever dream of. Um, and that was what he wanted to do as a loving husband, which in her case, that's not what she wanted, because technically she didn't even seem to want a husband. But those were those examples. Um, so the two things that this conversation with my mom and this constant like unraveling of my own psyche has been is that there's a correlation of lack that I've come to understand that I have. And that correlation was when I was much younger. Um, our family unit was a single mother household. So I was the only boy. I was the youngest. My sister was doing what she was doing. My mom was getting her money and making sure we had a roof over our heads. She never really like faltered in that aspect. And in my opinion, because I always try to have those feelings again, and they come every now and again, but it's like my feeling has always been when I was younger, before my mom got married, home felt warm. Home felt like I could be there. You know, home was a place that I knew I could go. Um, After she got married, I think home turned into a prison for me. And her argument to me was, and we were even talking about like generational stuff, about how my generation is lazy and all this other stuff. Um, and I had my counter argument is, we're not lazy. We just see that we're not getting the same benefits that your generation or previous generations have gotten for the amount of sticking their nose in the garbage that they had to do just to put food on the table. The trade-off was at least y'all had a house, or at least y'all had an apartment. We know it was still hard. We know it was still like, gut-wrenching every day to have to stare your boss in the face and not want to punch him. But her argument to me was that I was always so aimless, and I didn't have anything I wanted to do, and I didn't have anything I would like want to strive for. And I told her, and I was like, I feel like the reason that happened is because for a good chunk of my life, I experienced everything late because there was a pocket of time that frankly I just felt like I did not grow. And that pocket of time was just from me being a child into high school, into graduating and going to college. I mean, the argument was I farted away my time at school, which I essentially did because I didn't like to do internships because I felt like they were a waste of time. I finally was able to come back to my dorm or be free of like people like screaming at me for dumb stuff. I was kind of flippant, and looking back now and realizing, and even on my previous video that I was editing, there was a lot of things I was saying that was coming from a place of like I'm pointing the finger at everyone else because there's no, while I'm looking at myself and while I understand that some of these things are my fault, um, essentially I don't want to take responsibility for putting myself in these predicaments because at those points in time when I was making those mistakes, my mental state was keeping myself in control of whatever comfort or happiness or power that I had in those moments. And I would make decisions that would be to my detriment later on, um, mainly because I was striving to just be comfortable. Um, and she was just like, well, how come you couldn't find anything? And I literally said it to her, and I didn't realize that like I was saying this, or I knew what I was saying, but I was saying it to try to get her to understand this. But I told her, I was like, all those years in the house, like this didn't feel like a home to me. I couldn't be myself here. There was no way I could be myself here. Like the only thing I was met with all the time was terror. So the only thing I knew how to be was terrible. And I was terrible. And I don't know if that resonated with her or whatever, but it was just like I don't think she grasped. And the part that makes me feel so guilty about it at all times is that I get to be 30 or I get to be 31. I get to still be alive when there are places and things and people who have been killed by way worse, way more domineering, way more intense situations. And in my opinion, it feels like whatever emotions I have is just me sitting on the ground and kicking my feet and slamming my fists, saying that it's not fair to me. And and I feel like if I'm not able to express that, I don't know, it's just unfair. And then it makes me remember why I was stuck and why I'm still very stuck um mentally on a fixation that frankly for the last few years hasn't even remotely been an option in my life, but it still permeates through the back of my head. And it was, again, going back to the video that I watched, the husband said something that the wife perceived as he wanted his wife to be proud of him because he was trying to please somebody that he could not have pleased when he was younger, a parent or some type of older loved one or a coach or whatever. And he wanted that pride or that like, you know, emotion to flow from his wife, the one that he chose to live his life with. And that's why he like partnered up with her and a whole bunch of other aspects of it. And then it dawned on me that and I hate that I have to correlate this because it's the truth. But, as adults, and especially going into relationships, you look for what's familiar, and you look for like what you're most used to from a significant other. Sometimes you try to branch far away from what you are used to, which is, I think that's why I'm kind of the way I am, because I'm afraid that I'm gonna fall in love with somebody who emotionally does things that my mom has done to me, which I can feel and see that she cares and loves me, but it just feels like it's a cold kind of, and this is the issue. This is what I'm feeling, but I don't know if this is actually fact. Because the way that she describes it is she just describes like, her doing all this stuff and making sure that we're safe and everything. And even when she talks about how she was telling me about how she got certain jobs and how she took pay cuts and how she did different things, and she never included like my sperm donor. The only time she included like, my, because I don't call my paternal father my father, because who is that guy? And it really saddens me that, and I can't have control over it, but it saddens me that my sister allows her father to be back in her life after all of these years. And it's like, but I don't know what the initial relationship between these men and my mother was, and I don't know why they stayed away. But my issue is that in in a pivotal moment in my life, um, I lost a sense of home and a sense of comfort and what feels like the affections of my mother to another person that she was clearly in love with, begrudgingly at first, it seems. Um, and then I gained very specific and harmful addictions, one of which was me constantly hoping and dreaming and praying and, you know, not really doing a great job at attempting to actually be successful at, but um, cauterizing a relationship between me and the opposite sex that would give me an outlet to finally be able to release any type of emotional issues that I had in my life, and to be able to also um, express any type of emotional love or physical or sentimental, paternal, just any expression of affection. I wanted to express it with someone and to someone and on someone, and have it be done to me and for me and by me. I wanted that relationship, um, because I think for a long time I did not have that with my own mother. And we had like moments we had moments where there was some times where we would kind of have those moments again, but it was always interrupted. It was always abruptly stopped. It was cut into. And and then, and me not being the greatest kid, I'm doing bad stuff on top of that. So now I'm getting aggression from every which way. I can't run to my mother to like console me. I gotta be locked up in my room with white walls and nothing. I gotta come home as if I'm on a military base. I gotta move through school and life like I'm a prisoner. I gotta have somebody decide everything for me and then get pissed off when I can't decide stuff for myself. Um, and I think I was spending my childhood, which extended all the way, I want to even admit, until college. It extended all the way through college. I had to spend my childhood fighting myself to attempt to try to garner some type of relationship with a girl that would substitute a place in my life that was desperately needing something to fill that spot because I didn't get it at home. And simultaneously, I think I was sabotaging myself because I was so afraid that if I was successful and it turned out to be exactly like how it was in my own home life, that it would be a nightmare. And I would just feel I would feel like I failed again, basically. And now I'm at a point where I'm not seeking anything like that, but in the back of my head, I'm dreaming. I'm hoping, I'm wishing, you know, because I don't pray. Um, but I just want the moment to happen to where something incredible shifts my worldview and actually helps me in a better direction besides it being something negative or me having to lose a lot and not being able to cope with that. I don't know if I'm like in grief or if I'm like harboring like unrealized emotions. I don't know what it is. Um, for my wisdom that I have for myself, because I'm realizing that this channel is not even for anyone else. I'm just, because I don't think this is going to make any money. Like, this is literally me talking to myself and hoping that maybe I can hear what I'm saying to myself and it'll make me feel better about the shit that I put myself through. The only wisdom that I have is that all of this stuff is past already. You're supposed to fix this yourself. The world says you're supposed to do everything by yourself, while telling you at the same time that you have to be able to communicate with people and you have to be able to get people to do what you want them to do or do what you need them to do because you yourself have to be able to do that to yourself. And the only wisdom I can provide is when it comes to matters of the heart, desires always pull you towards what you're comfortable with. And sadly, it's always something that you don't need. And it sucks that it's legitimately gonna take you having to not care about anything outside of a specific goal. You have to find a goal. And if you don't have one, I feel like you'll just regret everything.